Hello everybody, this is Johns Hopkins with Baltimore Heritage, and we're back with another of our 5-Minute Histories videos. And today I'm on East Baltimore Street, right around the corner from the Jewish Museum of Maryland and near the old Hendler Creamery, if you know where that is. And if you're following along real time, you know we're heading into Thanksgiving, just a few days away. And a lot of us will sit down to a turkey dinner on Thanksgiving, and a lot of folks will sit down in the place behind me to a turkey Thanksgiving dinner. That place is the Helping Up Mission. It serves lots of Thanksgiving dinners and does a whole lot more all year round. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And it happens to be located on a block that may be historically the most philanthropic block in Baltimore, or at least it's had an incredible array of philanthropies over a 150-year period. And let's jump in right there. The first building to come up here was in 1807. A gentleman named William Pekin had moved from Pennsylvania, to head up a newspaper called the Baltimore American and Commercial Daily Advertiser. Kind of a mouthful today. You may not have heard of it, but it played kind of an important role in American history. Pekin was all things against the British and used his newspaper as a megaphone for that. And he was thrilled when Baltimore beat back the British in 1814 at Fort McHenry in Patterson Park. And he eagerly jumped at the chance to publish a new and unknown poem by a Maryland lawyer named Francis Scott Key called The Defense of Fort McHenry. In today's terms, his publishing went viral. It was republished all over the country, of course, eventually becoming the Star-Spangled Banner and our national anthem. It all started with Pekin and his Baltimore American and Commercial Daily Advertiser from here on Baltimore Street. The first philanthropic use to happen on this block came in 1874 with a gentleman named Thomas Kelso. Kelso built a house here, basically where I'm standing, and then bought the old Pekin property and turned it into an orphanage. Kelso had made his money, among other things, as president of the Philadelphia, Wilmington, and Baltimore Railroad. He served as president for 37 years, including the years when they built President Street Station, which of course is still standing downtown. And he was president of the Equitable Fire Insurance Company, one of the oldest fire insurance companies in the country. He gave generously, including to Methodist causes, but also built the Kelso orphanage behind me. The next philanthropy to come in, moving right along, was when the German branch of the YMCA came in. They changed that old 1807 house to fit their YMCA needs and lasted here for about 10 years or so. But by the 1890s, the building had found a new use called Philanthropy Hall. A group called the Jedediah Lodge No. 7, a fraternal organization associated with B'nai B'rith, I hope I'm saying that right, had bought the building, made more changes, and then notably turned it into a hub for fraternal lodges and other groups that were trying to address social ills of the day. It was also noted in the newspapers that the building was sparkling and great because it had 2 bowling alleys and electricity. In 1909, Philanthropy Hall got a new use when a group called the Baltimore Talmud Torah Society bought it and turned it into the Baltimore Hebrew Free School. It was this building and 3 others here became the campus of the city's largest Hebrew school of the time. Next up, in 1930, a group called the Workman's Circle purchased the building. Workman's Circle was an organization that got started in the 1890s, I believe, in New York to address social and economic justice issues. A lot of immigrants were coming over, a lot of Jewish immigrants, and Workman's Circle was a Jewish organization. They were coming over, working in sweatshops and other places of deplorable sort of working conditions, and the Workman's Circle tried to tackle some of those issues. By the 1930s, it had branches in lots of different cities, including here, and it was decidedly part of America's left-leaning intelligentsia and sort of social activist network. In 1932, for example, they hosted James Maurer, the vice presidential candidate for the Socialist Party, and in the 1940s, they hosted a series of dances for underserved workers, including the seamen that were pouring into Baltimore's docks. In 1955 is when we start the current chapter, and that's when Helping Up Mission moved in. They got their start way before that, back in 1885, to serve Baltimore's homeless men at the time. And some of the core things that they were doing back then, they do today: food and clothing and shelter. For example, in 1958, shortly after moving here, they sent out an advertisement asking for canned goods and toys during the holiday season. Does that sound familiar today? And they were saying that they would be able to feed 550 people with food baskets and 250 homeless men on Thanksgiving, which they again do today. Although they have ramped up their activities, they now serve on average 1,200 meals a day, provide 150 articles of clothing to people, and do 6,700 counseling sessions a year. Counseling is part of a wide array of services that they offer to help people find jobs and improve themselves. I am going to wrap up with a quote from a gentleman named Gary Byers, Pastor Byers, who several years ago was part of the folks here serving Thanksgiving dinners. And here's what Pastor Byers had to say. He said, "Many of our volunteers come and serve for a couple of hours here and then go on to Thanksgiving dinner with their families elsewhere. Others just decide to make our Thanksgiving dinner their Thanksgiving dinner. They come and serve, then sit down and eat themselves, and then just hang out with everybody else. They might even go and watch a little football or even take a nap too." So I'm going to say thank you to Gary Bowers and all the folks who serve here. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and especially those who take part of their day to do what Pastor Bowers did and help those who need it. Happy Thanksgiving.